Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christi Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
I will go ahead and introduce myself. I am Christi Clemens Hoffman. I'm the host of the Radiate Wellness podcast and former host of the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast. And the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast is on hiatus for the moment, for the time being. I'm located in the Kansas City area where it's gray and cold and absolutely delicious outside. And I'm a level 3 quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, QHHT. In other words, I'm an angel communicator and a Reiki master, as well as the owner of Radiate Wellness, LLC. I would love it if each participant could just briefly introduce yourself by your name and location. So let's have Killian. Please just unmute and introduce yourself and where you're located.
Hi, guys. I travel with my service dog, Hope. I think I just added that background. I wasn't sure what I was doing. But
where are you located now? Where are you right now?
I'm in Cali.
Nice.
I'm in LA right now. So,
awesome.
Yeah, Arizona.
And you are one of the encounters. Actually, you've been on 2 episodes of Real Life Angel Encounters podcast.
That's awesome.
Stories. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys, okay, I'll talk about the podcast in a minute. Thank you so much, Killian. Mary, would you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Hello, everybody. I'm Mary Wallen. I live in Lancaster, New York, which is a suburb of Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, awesome. And you were on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast with an alien story.
I was, yes.
Oh, it's cool. All right, Cottonwood Creek.
Hi, I'm Melody Barton. I live in Nevada, Missouri, which is about 100 miles south of Kansas City.
Yeah, awesome. Stephanie, if you could unmute yourself, please, and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Well, I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, and I was born in Kansas, grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and moved back to Lawrence for school. And other than a brief hiatus, I've pretty much lived here since '93. Woohoo!
Lawrence, Kansas.
What else do you want?
That's good. That's good. So we've got a bit of a variety of different people here. So Valerie said that she could only listen for some reason. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Valerie, you might try turning up the volume on your computer or device, which sounds simple, but I've made that mistake before myself. So, and I know Valerie has been on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast as well. I'm so excited. So if you are not familiar with the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast, you might not be alone. There were only 40 episodes, and it's available on your favorite podcatcher, whatever you listen to podcasts on, as well as the mindbodyspirit.fm website and mobile app. So the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast is a podcast that I did last year. And the vision for that podcast was to talk to people who have had angelic, miraculous, or synchronistic encounters, as well as a few stories from the news, such as the butterfly people of Joplin. Those of you in the Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas regions might know about the butterfly people who were in Joplin after the Joplin tornado, an EF5 tornado. And then I also brought on information about the Cokeville miracle, which was in South Dakota, I believe, where a crazed gunman walked into a school back in the 80s, held an entire grade hostage, and threatened to blow up the entire school. The bomb did go off. It detonated. Some of the guns were fired. Only the gunman was killed and his wife. But the children all made it out. And they described afterward angels coming down from the ceiling, through the ceiling, and instructing them how to get out, keeping them safe, putting a kind of a bubble force field around the children. The children later told their parents about it, and it was confirmed that many of the angels that the children saw were actually loved ones who had passed on that they didn't even know, they had not met before. So all kinds of stories on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast. Hopefully you have heard that. Of course, I also do the Radiate Wellness podcast, which is a variety of topics, things that we radiate or would like to in our lives. So that is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as mindbodyspirit.fm. And we have had a new person join in. This is Becca. Where are you located, Becca?
I am in Kansas City.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've got some hometown people, somebody in Cali and another in Oklahoma, and then the surrounding areas of Kansas, or Kansas City, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And thank you so much for letting me know about this. I'm going on Meetup now, and I just put that in the chat. So thank you for being so persistent. It's a lot to juggle here, right?
Well,
So-
it said that you had a meeting already going on. And so I was like, I bet there's a different link to this somewhere.
Oh, I don't even pretend to know all that much about Zoom. You know, when it works, it's a miracle, and I love it. We've got Christelle. Christelle, can you briefly introduce yourself and where you're from?
I'm actually pronounced Crystal. I know my parents decided to give me a funny spelling, so all my life everyone's all like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Just Crystal." It's not as fancy. So right now I'm in Kansas City. I just moved here like last year, just to be closer to family. So before that, I was all over the world because I used to be in the Army. Got out in 2012. So I've been traveling all over the world from California, Texas, here, just jumping from border to border, going overseas. And so I'm still quite new to Kansas City area. And I'm hoping that I'll get to know some people here and make some new friends.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining. So I will say that maybe this was an honest mistake. The name Christelle with an EL reminds me of archangels, because most archangels have the prefix L on their names. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Haniel, Jophiel, stop me now. So it just means messenger of God, the suffix EL. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast, like I was talking about, unfortunately, I was not getting enough stories to keep that podcast going. And that could change in the future, of course, but there's still a Radiate Wellness podcast, which is up to its 232nd episode this week. But if this angel chat goes well, this will be featured on the Radiate Wellness podcast. And who knows, if I start getting an influx of stories, that would be wonderful, and maybe able to bring back the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast. But in the meantime, if you would like to join the conversation and submit more stories of your own, or stories from the news or from people you know, then join the Real Life Angel Encounters Real Life Angel Encounters group on Facebook. It's a private group. Just request to join. I will let you in. And we will stop with the introductions, unfortunately, at this point, so we can get on with hopefully some stories to share. If any of you have a story to share in Zoom, please go to reactions and click raise hand. All right. Otherwise, I'm going to start calling on people that I know have stories. So anybody have a story? Wendy? Oh, Becca has a story. All right. So please unmute yourself. And I ask for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Sure. I've gotten used to having to condense this story down because it's a good one. Basically, probably about 3, 4, 5 months ago, I'm not sure. I am going through an awakening and it's been pretty tough. And I was reading a book that said if you sort of want signs from angels or the universe that you are moving in the right direction, to come up with something that you would like to see. So not something that you see every single day all the time, but also not something totally obscure and random and almost impossible. And for some reason, I don't remember why, I came up with orange pickup trucks and then proceeded to not see a single orange pickup truck or notice one for months. And then one day I just kept getting, for months, I was getting the impression that it was time for me to leave my partner and that this new journey of my life that I was going on, he wasn't going to come with me on it. And it was very upset. I was very upset. I mean, just really praying and asking for guidance and answers. And I had one night where I was just crying and journaling and just praying that I was going to do it, and I had done it, but I was just praying for confirmation that was what I was supposed to do. And the next morning I was driving home from dropping my son off at school, crying at a stoplight, and an orange truck drove through the intersection. And I go, "Oh, orange truck." I mean, like, it stopped me dead in my tears, and I kind of smiled. And I was like, okay. And I turned the corner, and of course I got a block away before. I was like, well, that could be anything. That's nothing. And I get about another block down the road, and I see an orange pickup truck parked in a parking lot right along the street, like a huge one facing the street. And so I'm just like, okay, thank you. Whatever that is, thank you. And then I went home and I was working for a few hours, and the sadness was starting to creep back in, and the fear and the doubt. And it was cold outside, but I was like, forget it, I need to go for a walk. I always feel better when I go for a walk. So I bundled up and I went for a walk, and I turned the street corner, and right then an orange truck drove past me.
Wow.
Seriously. So it stopped me dead in my tracks. Like, I had tears, and I was just like, okay. And so I finished my walk and I came back home. And then a few hours later, I was leaving to go to yoga right up the street. And I came to a stop sign, and I looked to my left, and right then an orange pickup truck was backing out of a driveway and drove past me. And I was just, at that point, at 4, I was just like, okay, it was almost eerie. I was like, I can't ignore this anymore. I went into yoga, laid there, thought about orange trucks the entire time, trying to focus and concentrate, and I absolutely could not. And I walked out, and it was dark out by the time I got out, and I walked out in the parking lot, and the parking lot was mostly empty, and there was like a big, like the big overhead lamps, the big lamps, street lamps, whatever. I was parked underneath one, and right next to me, under that light, was the biggest, brightest, shiniest orange pickup truck I have ever seen. So like, all that was in the parking lot was my car and this orange pickup truck. I have a picture of it. I'll hold it up later. But like, it was insane. I mean, I was speechless for hours, and I came back home, and I was really just sitting with it, and I was laying in my bed, and I was upset about, I was stoked about the angels, but I was upset about that it really was confirming that this is what was right. And I felt a presence in my room, and I just sort of closed my eyes, and I laid my head back, and I said, "Who are you?" And right then I turned my head, and my eyes landed on this book that's on my dresser. And
it says angels on the book.
Yes. And like I said, "Who are you?" Right then I opened my eyes, and I just go like that. And then my eyes just landed on the book. And it was just like, okay. I mean, it was so like, my mom bought me this.
It's so cute. It's a little toy orange truck.
And it's on my altar. And like, whenever I'm feeling that doubt and that fear, I'm just like, orange pickup trucks. Like, they were just telling me, we've got you. You are guided. You are so protected. He is guided and protected. He is fine. And yeah.
So what came of it? Did you do the thing? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been tough. And, and there's been times that I've reached out to him again and sort of pulled back and reached out to him again. But even he sometimes will be like, babe, orange pickup trucks, like.
Have you seen any sense?
Yes. Yeah. I was talking out loud to myself a few days later, driving down the street, talking to my angels. And I said, when I write a book one day, there's going to be a chapter titled Orange Pickup Trucks. And right then I looked up and there was an orange pickup truck parked on the side of the road.
I always say you cannot make this stuff up.
I texted my therapist, who's also sort of my spiritual advisor. And she was like, when you go home, just write that chapter. Just write it down.
Gosh. And it's not like orange pickup trucks are all that common.
Right. And what I love so much is that it wasn't like I said, show me a cardinal or show me a quarter on the street or show me, something that you could see anywhere. Something out there heard me say orange pickup trucks. And they waited and they waited and they waited. And they made it happen. Like, it blows my mind that there are beings and consciousnesses out there that love me that much that they could somehow orchestrate. Because there were people driving those orange trucks. It wasn't like it was a quarter on the road. Like, that was orchestrated. Like, I don't even pretend to imagine how, but it was beautiful.
That is an amazing story. Yeah. Well, I have my own story about that, which I'll tell later, but people have to be there to bring those trucks around. They have to somehow get the message to be in the right place at the right time. And then you have to be cued in to observe that at the right place, the right time. There's a whole bunch more about background people, et cetera, that I won't go into, but that is an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Mary, I know you've got your hand up as well, but Killian is needing to leave in like 4 minutes, and she's got a real short story. So I'm going to have her jump in, and then we're going to get to you, Mary. Killian, tell us about your dog.
Hi. Yeah, real quick about my dog. Can you guys see the background?
We can. If your it looks like kind of a Chihuahua.
Oh no, she's a red healer actually.
Oh, a red healer. Okay.
Yeah, she's a red healer, cattle dog. But anyway, I had another service dog who was a tiny little. He was a Chihuahua Husky, and he was with me for 9 years. And during his last year, I felt a presence by my side. I have a very strong guardian angel, and he always seems to be on my left. But about a year before my previous service dog passed, I started feeling this like mid-aged female spirit next to me, to the point where I started to ask in my mind, I started to ask who the spirit was. Why did I feel like a female, unidentifiable, spirit by my side? And I was told briefly that she was going to be my companion and that she would help me. And that's all I was ever told. And so months later, I felt the spirit with me again, and it became a little more frequent. And I asked and I got the same answer. She's a companion and she will be by your side. And then in July of 2020, my little old man service dog passed, and I realized 3 months later I couldn't go without another service dog. And so she was a miracle. She popped up and someone gifted her to me. And when I first met her, I didn't acknowledge her, and she did not acknowledge me. I didn't want to impose on her. And but that night I stayed at this person's house, and about 5 minutes later, after I got into bed, this dog jumps into bed with me, and she's been by my side ever since. She had paid me no attention prior to that. And the next day, she did what she was supposed to do as a service dog and actually helped me with my health before I realized what was happening. And then I realized days later where she came from. She was that spirit, because that spirit disappeared, and then I was told she was your guardian angel. She's your service dog. So she came to me beforehand.
And her name is?
Hope. Her name is Hope. I live with Hope every day.
You wake up with hope. You walk with hope.
Oh,
you
gosh.
do purpose with hope.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I wanted to make sure and get you in before you had to leave, and it is precisely that time, right? So I appreciate that story. And if you guys can go back and listen to some of the Real Life Angel Encounters podcasts, you'll hear a couple of different episodes where Killian shares other stories that are just as amazing. Thank you so much. All right, Mary, let's hear from you.
I have kind of a story, not as dramatic as Becca's, but back in 2020, it was started probably 2018, 2019. I was intentionally, consciously trying to connect with my guides, my angels. I was doing a lot of things. It was a spiritual awakening that kind of started in 2018. But in January of 2020, which is my birthday month, someone had said, you can ask for a sign and they will give you a sign that they are there, like something that you can see with your eyes, something, that you can know. And it's not that I didn't know, but it's like I'm having these conversations, I'm reaching out, I'm thinking you're communicating with me, but how do I know? It's not my imagination. So here I was sitting at the table one morning. Now I live near Buffalo. So, January in Buffalo, right? Snow, no leaves on the trees. But I grew up on a street called Maple Avenue, and there's sugar maple trees. And in the fall, I don't know, but they're gorgeous, like red, orange, yellow, beautiful. And I said, okay, I'm asking you to show me a sign that you are really with me and that you hear me. I want to see a maple leaf. I want to see a fall, beautiful maple leaf. And I just let that go. No, time went on, and my birthday's January 11th. So this is in 2020. That's the day that I set that intention and made that request of my angels.
1/1/2020.
Yep.
Or
1/1/2020.
Yeah.
Or 1/11/2020.
1/11/2020,
which is an angel number that comes up for me is 111 a lot. So days went by, and obviously I went for walks and I did not see any orange maple leaves. I was like, I noticed I had left some, inevitably I do it every year. You forget to put away some of the Christmas things, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, these tchotchkes are still sitting here. I'm going to go put them downstairs in my basement. And as I'm gathering them up, I know in my storage room, I have some craft things. I'm like, oh, I know I'm going to see this maple leaf, because I think I have some, the silk leaves. I think I have some from an old, a craft I did. So I went down in the craft room and I put the stuff away and I'm looking around intentionally trying to see this maple leaf. I don't see it anywhere. So then here's Mary down there going through bags looking for those leaves that I knew I had bought for a craft. And I stood there and I went, I can't even find them. And I'm looking for them. I'm like, you know what? This is not how it works. I know this is not how it works. I go back upstairs and I'm kind of like thinking to myself, not really mumbling out loud, but like, you know what? They are busy. They're not going to show me a maple leaf in January, Mary, that looks like one you would see in late September. That's just, okay, I get it. You don't have time for this. And I can appreciate that. So I kind of forgot about it. And, probably a week went by. It was still January, but it was the end of January. I'm laying in my bed and it's 10 o'clock at night. And don't ask me why, although I know why. I have this floating shelf that's in my bedroom and it had a bunch of stuff on it. And I got the idea, I have not dusted that shelf and I can't even remember what the heck is even on that shelf. I wasn't thinking about my maple leaf. Went there with a dust rag, cleaning it off. There was a pile of like old cards and pictures. And so I'm standing in front of my desk and I'm like, oh my God, I remember this. I remember this. And I'm standing there with bare feet because I was in bed. And all of a sudden something fell and hit the top of my foot, like a thud. And I'm like, what in the heck? And I reached down and I realized that it's like a copy of like the wedding invitation my one daughter had. And they had a fall wedding and she had incorporated the fall colors into like, it was an outdoor wedding. It was very beautiful. I opened this up and look, and sitting there was this maple leaf that she had kind of tied. It wasn't a real maple leaf. It was a silk maple leaf with that beautiful orange red color that she had used twine and kind of tied it around the RSVP portion that people received in the mail. And I stood there and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that I even had that. And it hit my foot, like the corner of it hit it, like, ouch. Like, what in the heck was that? I'm like, oh my God, my maple leaf. I'm like, thank you. I am so grateful that you did. Thank you. Like, they have time to do, like, thank you. And I get emotional when I talk about it. Like, I know you're here, but like, just this validation just means so much to me that you listen to me and you're here. When I take the time to talk to you and ask you for guidance, thank you. So it was February of that year. Now I had been still trying to, tap into my own mediumship and really connect with my angels. And I always wanted a name. Like, would you give me a name? And I know that not all of our guides actually have names. They may give us names because we need it. Like it's something as a human we relate to. So I'm actually sitting alone. I work on cookies. So I was making these royal icing transfers. I didn't have a podcast on. I had no music playing. The television wasn't on. But I get in my head and I kind of get into like in a very open state when I'm doing it because it's very repetitive. And I just like, I'm not thinking about anything. All of a sudden, I heard in my head, Malachi. And I kind of ignored and then I kept hearing it. And I'm like, and so I stopped what I'm doing. I'm like, who is Malachi? Like, where did that name come from? And I knew it was so significant because it just was pestering me. And I'm like, did somebody say something about Malachi? Like, who is Malachi? I got so distracted by that name. I went on my phone and I Googled the word Malachi. I was like, how do you spell Malachi? And it came up. And who that is or the meaning of that name is messenger of God. And I was like, oh my God, that's you. Thank you. Oh my God, you gave me a name. Malachi. Oh my God. Like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So then I thought, oh, this is just wonderful. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to put on a podcast and listen. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in silence all this time. I'm going to put a podcast on. So I thought I hit a podcast, but all of a sudden my Pandora kicks into a song, and it was somebody that I didn't even listen to, but it was a Katie Lang song, Constant Craving. I don't know if you know that song or the lyrics, but I ask you to look it up. I started listening to the words, and I'm like, and it's about like, it's something we all have, is this constant craving to know. The song is about, and it always has been, really was what she was singing. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just too much today. I can't believe my phone did that. I thought I had a podcast and the music started playing, and that song. And every once in a while, I'll be driving and that song will pop on. I'm like, and it's kind of like, we still are listening, and we know that is, you know, what what you're about. You're craving the knowledge and the understanding, and we're here for you. And that is very beautiful to me. It's just.
That is beautiful. I love that story. There are a few things that jump out to me about that story. First of all, you tried to game the system. You were looking for, okay, well, it's not a real maple leaf, but I think I can find a silk one in this box.
I totally was going crazy.
But then you asked for a name, and you're right. They don't always have a name. Sometimes they're like, okay, well, if you have to call me something, you can call me Bob, you know.
Right, right.
I think it was very, very meaningful. But then also you got the symbol you were looking for in an unexpected way. So we have to be open like that. So on one of the other episodes of Real Life Angel Encounters, Angela tells the story of really craving to hear from her sister who had passed. And she's like, come on, you just got to send me a sign. She says, okay, send me a bluebird, because she knew, you know, and she lives in Kansas. She was, the name of the song and the artist again was Katie Lang. And the song was?
Constant Craving.
Constant Craving. Love Katie Lang. So Angela had asked her sister to send her a bluebird, and Angela lives in Kansas. She was driving out to meet her partner, and I don't know, middle of Kansas, nowhere. And we really don't have bluebirds around here. But she had just gotten a new CD from a friend of hers, and really, who listens to CDs anymore? But her friend had sent her a CD of a Howard Jones live concert. Howard Jones, her favorite performer. She pops the CD in, and Howard Jones was doing a cover song of David Bowie's, a song that he doesn't usually do, but had done a cover song of Lazarus by David Bowie. And then in that song, it said, just like the bluebird, I'm free.
Wow.
And she knew that was that because there was another lyric in that song that said, dropped my phone. I was in the bathroom, dropped my phone down the loo. Her sister happened to die in a bathroom. And then, like the bluebird, I'm free. So, and I just got big goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
But being open to your sign, your symbol does not have to be literal, except for Becca, because her sign was literal. But your sign can come in many different ways. So those were a couple of things that jumped out. That is so great. And then being open to hearing the song and knowing that had a special significance. You know, we can look, and I think this comes up in the podcast somewhere, but we can look by these signs. And Becca, I mean, how many pickup trucks does it take for you to realize that you're trying to? I usually talk to clients and, students about a rule of 3. If it happens once, it's a fluke. Twice, it's a coincidence. 3 times, better pay attention and do it. And still after the 3rd orange pickup truck, no less, we're still doubting. So, That's okay. Our guides, our angels love us, and they will get the message through. And I do have a personal story. It's really, really quick. And then Stephanie had asked to jump in with a story too. But I was going through a really difficult period of time. I was actually driving down 71 Highway. Those of you in Kansas City know this area around the Grandview Triangle. Driving and crying and listening to Abraham Hicks. Hopefully you guys know who Abraham Hicks is. Abraham is, of course, a group of archangels that's channeled by Esther Hicks. And listening to a bunch of Abraham, getting some inspiration. And I just said, Abraham, if you are paying attention, if you're with me, and just let me know everything is going to be okay. I just want a sign that everything's going to be all right. I kid you not, this panel truck entered the highway and went in front of me. On the back of the panel van, it said, Abraham, the people you know, the name you trust. I know. It's not always going to be that blatant, but it can be. But it can also be often very subtle.
Hi there. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about a very special event that we have coming up with Radiate Wellness. This is the Inner Journey, Discovering Your Soul's Path 3-day spiritual and metaphysical retreat. This is an immersive experience, March 31st to April 2nd. So it's all inclusive. So that's lodging, meals, snacks, and wonderful workshops. So what are the workshops that we have coming up? First, we're going to be doing a sound healing concert with Susan Walter, who's a visionary angel artist and angel communicator who paints beautiful angel portraits. And she'll be leading us in a sound healing concert with crystal bowls, and there will be energy work alongside that sound healing. We're going to be doing a group QHHT session, that is quantum healing hypnosis technique, with me, Christi, and we will visit one past life and one potential future life, just to look at the arc of your soul and your soul's purpose. We will also be connecting to your inner self and your intentions for 2023. We'll be doing energy workshops and energy healing workshops. And we will do a meditation to meet your angel or angels and learn how to work with them. We will also have a special guest from Switzerland, from Geneva, Switzerland. Mary Jane Stodenman will be joining us to talk about your soul's journey with astrology. So our leaders for this retreat are myself, Christi Clemens Hoffman, Kathy Lesmeister, who's another one of our wonderful practitioners with Radiate Wellness, Susan Walter, who is a Kansas City-based visionary artist and sound bowl enthusiast, as well as Mary Jane Stodenman, tarot master and astrology teacher in Switzerland. So all of these events are all covered under one price. And there is an early bird special. You can save $100 on this retreat until January 31st, 2023. And then regular registration continues afterward. And again, that will be a $100 discount up until January 31st. You can find out more information and register at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. It's right at the top of the homepage. Hope to see you there. Did you know that Radiate Wellness is more than just a podcast? That's right. We're also a comprehensive holistic wellness practice. Find out about our services, practitioners, and upcoming events at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. While you're there, visit our podcast page to read more about our great guests and even donate to the podcast. If you like our podcast, you can help in other ways as well, like subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening right now. Tell a friend, a family member, or a coworker about the great content you find here. And if you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, or a positive review. Sounds like a small thing, but it really helps. You might like to know about our Facebook communities while we're at it. We have a free community, the Radiate Wellness Community, on Facebook for news and great free content. Our subscribers group is Radiate You, as in the letter U, but also, well, you. There you'll find curated replays of past classes, guest interviews, and more. And now, back to our podcast and back to our guest.
All right, easy to miss. Stephanie, let's hear your 4 or 5 minute story. You said it happened today.
Hello. Well, I had a couple insights in the last 24 hours, and I had a story from last week. So, because as people keep telling stories, I keep thinking of more stuff. So I'm going to try to be concise. Not always my forte. Well, the insight I had, and I've talked to you about this before, is that the interesting thing is that I listen sometimes to Unity of Lawrence, their service. And this morning during the meditation, the message was, for the meditation was, imagine where your guardian angel is. And it popped in my head. First, I'm like, oh, my shoulder or whatever. I'm like imagining things. I said, use your imagination. But what popped in my head was, if I wanted to find my guardian angel, I had to look in my shadow. And for me, that was personal because I had to look, because to me, the shadow isn't just where you put the stuff the negative things you don't want to see, the unpleasant things. I've read this and I like this idea that it's also where one could put what one doesn't want others to see that's good about oneself. And I've been opening up more lately. And, and the other insight I had last night when I was crossing the street was, the reason I have a hard time believing in angels themselves sometimes is because I don't always pay attention, except when it's a big thing, and I've had the big things, but I don't know about all the little things that have been done to save, like the car that could have run me down and how many times I've not looked to cross the street, or traveling alone in Brazil, that sort of thing. So those are the insights I had for me. The story is that was more about synchronicities, and I tend to have tended to do visual art and music and poetry, and sometimes one will pop up that relates to what I'm going through or about to go through. And what came to me on Sunday last week was a song that I wrote called Synchronicities. And it's basically about being early spring and a stream of synchronicities. I won't use up the time to sing it right now, but it's basically about all these synchronicities going through my brain during early spring. And that's just the beginning. So that's what happened throughout the week. I just kept having synchronicities. And I literally, the day before that, or somewhere on last weekend, prayed for needing more money because I had used my credit card so much to pay for school and other expenses in the last year or so. And I said, last time I prayed for help, I got my last 2 times for money. The credit limit was expanded on my credit card, but I was like, I need something I don't have to pay back. 2 days later, first day of school, after my first class, I was in a bad mood, didn't want to be there. I was having to commute. I'm still commuting many hours a day to go to and from school in Johnson County on the buses. And my director took me aside and said, the director of the department said, asked me some questions. Oh, I noticed you're not in this class, band, it's music. And I said, yeah, it's a commute, it's tiring, He said, well, I can offer you $1,000 scholarship if you take band this semester. And I'd been wanting to take it, but I'd been resisting it. Like last semester, I resisted auditioning, and I was walking into a class he taught last semester and ran into another flutist. I hadn't really seen many flute players, but she was just leaving auditions. And I walked in and said, hey, I heard you need flutes. And he said, yeah, just sign up. You don't need to audition. This was last semester because I'd already auditioned. So all these things he really wants me to be there, even though I got COVID and missed the last concert last semester. I wasn't going to be in anything. I was down about it still. And so it was that. And it was just over and over. Everything just kept happening like just when it needed to that day, like boom, 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 boom. And then I got kind of down a couple of days later. I was like, I don't know, really, should I do this? Da, da, da. Well, I was doing my errands on Saturday, and this has happened before too. And I kept looking at this book. I felt like I needed to return to the KU library. It was on, basically, it's called Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner, a jazz musician and educator. And I'd been feeling, should I return this book? Should I not? And I'm like, there's really not time now. So I left the book, and thought, well, I still need to go to the public library, and Lawrence to return the stack of books I checked out. And I get on the bus, and then the next stop, this guy and this girl get on, and on his hat is the last name of the author of the book I'd been staring at before I left home. And to me, those synchronicities are about showing me I'm in the right place, right time. That's the way I interpret it. I don't know, but that's probably a little long-winded. A lot of little things. To me, it's like all these connections. It's almost like a stream of synchronicities. Like I said, it's like one thing after another throughout the week.
Thank you for sharing, because the synchronicities do add up. I don't know if any of you have read the book, The Celestine Prophecies. Oh, it's so good. Celestine Prophecies. There are 9 prophecies about the new world coming. And one of them is one of the prophecies is synchronicities. That when you're in alignment, when you're connected and you are in the flow, synchronicities like having an orange pickup truck show up, like having a maple leaf in another form fall off a shelf and hit your toe. When you're in that flow, the synchronicities just line up so much more easily. Like walking into a $1,000 scholarship. Hello, that's awesome. I would like now to acknowledge Joseph, who just stepped in, who is also one of the experiencers in the real life angel encounters, told like, I don't know, a dozen stories.
Yeah,
and
a lot.
A lot of stories. You had a lot of stories. I remember Joseph and the Giant Hand was one of them, which was so fun.
Struck by lightning. There was a near-death car accident. One. Let's see what else. I think I told like a lot of like I had angels as like spirit guides that would just talk to me as a child.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff. So you guys need to go back, and if you've not heard there's only 40 episodes. So go back and listen to all 40 episodes. So thank you for joining us, Joseph. You're in Kansas City, and Joseph is an angel communicator as well, as I am too. So I heard it's so funny. Valerie is on this call, but she said for some reason she participate or watch or anything like that, but emailed me this really cute photo back in 2019. She went for Halloween as 2018. I wish I could show you guys in the chat. I'll have to post this maybe on Facebook in the comments. She was a pandemic in 2018, and it was so cute. It's like part panda. She's got a mask on, super cute. But Valerie had told a couple of stories as well in the podcast. So, does anybody else have any stories that you would like to share?
Oh, I have another one.
You have another one? All right, Joseph, you got it.
Okay, so part of this, I'll just say yesterday. So yesterday was part of synchronicities, and part of it was like, I definitely almost had a near-death experience again. So, I kept seeing 2222s. Like I saw 222, 222. And then like kind of stepping like also like with just abundance is like stepping into that. And I just when you let go of control and you just let go and just let the universe do things, it surprises you. So I had like 5 different people be like, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And I'm like out here, I'm like, I just got to live it till Monday. It's like the paycheck to paycheck type energy. And then the universe, like, here's all this abundance. Like there is nothing to, and like people like an hour reading here. I'm going to sign up for your full 16 weeks. Like, I want an hour reading. I'm going to do another hour reading. And then it's just like other people like, oh, are you coming back to Florida? Can I get a reading? And then it's like, oh, okay. And so it's just like, it's just like things like just kind of falling, because two's like, because I speak with angels and like Archangel Metatron is usually with the person when you see like the repeating numbers, because he's like sacred geometry. And so, but Archangel Metatron is also like transmutation and change. And so as I'm going through this shift in my life, I'm releasing things of the old, I'm releasing things with relationship. It's just like 22. And so like this kind of jersey I went to like a friend fundraiser after billiards, because I played pool league. And I thought the number said 55. I was like, okay, 55 is like a good change. 5s are good for changes and transitions and travel and like, but it was actually 22. It was actually 22. I was like, oh, that's really funny. And the Powerball number, my friend's like, oh, no one won the Powerball. And then when I checked the Powerball number was 22. And, some people are like, okay, that's just a random coincidence. But like, okay, that was a sign that, okay, that large, wave of abundance is coming in. Now, I was like leaving because like my eyesight is not the best in the dark, especially when it's like, because my depth perception is kind of weird. And so I was like, okay, I want to leave before it gets super dark, because my, friend's event like ended at 6 and the sun sets at like 5:30. And so I was, luckily it wasn't snowing or raining in the road. It was still warm enough. So I was driving to get on the on-ramp on like Nolan Road and, I-70, and this car didn't have its headlights on, and I did not see it, and I was starting to merge, and something just told me look again, and I looked again, and I moved out of the way and I'm like, well, I would have been dead had I merged. I'm like, okay. And so it's just like, thank you, angels. Like every time I drive, I'm like, thank you, angels and dragons, for protecting me. Thank you for getting me safely to my place. Thank you.
There were several stories on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast about cars and car things. There were, you just have to go back and listen. There was one episode that's all car stories, but then there were several other stories sprinkled throughout. That is amazing. I know these things, you can't make them up at all. I wanted to take just a moment and acknowledge our Facebook viewers right now. And I know we've got Tasha watching from England. So I was hoping that some of our British listeners and outside the US listeners would be able to join. So this is wonderful. Let's see, we had a question from Stephanie. Stephanie has one question. We've only got a few minutes remaining, but we'll see what we can do. If I can't answer, maybe somebody else can answer.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just fine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the dryer's going, so I wasn't sure how loud it would be. All right. Well, often I've looked at synchronicity as a sign either that I'm in the right place, right time, or I really need to pay attention. Like if it's about a certain event, I need to be there. And I'd gone through a cord cutting ceremony like earlier in the month, and I had this feeling afterwards I need to pick up my art supplies and start cleaning stuff out. Like it was just dead energy. Maybe not dead energy because it doesn't feel good to me energetically to say that, but it was just I needed to not move on, but shift something, and let go of things. And I ended up not going because I also had, other errands, and I said I didn't have time to go.
Okay.
Afterwards, on the bus, there was a guy on the bus who happened to have just left that event with a ton of stuff. And I was like, well, that's interesting, but too bad I didn't go. Oh, too bad. Well, then I thought, well, I'd very much like, big deal. I happened to have this feeling, get on Instagram, and right there was something about the Lawrence Public Library and this event that I'd missed about how huge it was and all the art supplies. I'm like, oh, I guess I could have gotten some stuff there and dropped some things off. And they're not doing it for another year. And I thought, well, I could be a little sneaky sometimes, pardon me. And I'll just, maybe not sneaky, but I thought I'd just put it out there for Buy Nothing Lawrence and someone else would pick it up. But that's not the important part. But the important part is, it's I got these synchronistic things after the event was over. And I tend to believe that an angel or a God or whomever is going to beat me over the head, because I do that plenty. I don't think God or angels or whoever it is, I don't believe that's the way the universe works, really. I'm realizing that. That's why it's puzzling to me. I'm like, well, how else could I interpret this? So I'm wondering.
Yeah. Let me see if I can address that for you. So you guys have surely been looking for things, shopping online. And right now I'm looking for a car. So all of a sudden now I see car ads pop up everywhere, even in my podcast feed, that there will be ads for cars because I did that search, right? So yes, Big Brother is kind of watching what we're doing and listening, et cetera. Especially if you have an Alexa, this is what I believe. If you have an Alexa, the Alexa is listening to what you're asking about. So I kind of see our angelic guides, our team, as the same way. Whatever energy we're putting out, because remember, our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy. All of the things we've been looking for and asking is energy. So our guides are listening to this all the time. And so, they're going to take this. Oh, you've been thinking about art supplies. We're going to send you something about that. Is it going to be the right time? Maybe, maybe not. But we're going to just bring you more and more of what you're thinking about and what we're bringing up. So that's how I feel that they work with us, is that they are with us, paying attention to us all the time. And if we ever need any proof of that, just watch what manifests and shows up in your life. All right. I hope that answered your question. And I did have a comment on Facebook. Daniela asks, she says, I have a few car stories too. We may have to do this chat again, because I think it could be really fun to bring in more stories and talk about this. And Joseph talked about dragons, she says. And I know dragons are something, but it's not a rabbit hole I have ventured into yet. And I'm being told to ask for a general answer, please. So I can answer that. And we are out of time. Maybe Joseph, you can jump on the Facebook chat, QHHT and more on my page, and respond to Daniela with your own insight. But dragons are a thing. They're definitely a thing. I've seen in hypnosis sessions, QHHT hypnosis sessions, that people have lifetimes as dragons with dragons. And I know that they are around us as guides as well. And I know that I had interviewed actually that was unicorns. I interviewed somebody about unicorns on the Radiate Wellness podcast, Radiate Myth, and talked all about the myth of unicorns. But dragons are very real and can be very much a part of our spiritual team. So Danielle, I hope that answered I hope that answered your question. So we can call in on them. There's even dragon skulls that you can get made out of various types of stones, minerals, and crystals. So you can open a direct feeling, energetic communication, energetic presence with dragons that way, or just think about them and ask. That's really all it takes. All right, my friends. I'm going to pray us out, if that's okay. Just a simple non-denominational prayer, just to set the energy and anchor it within each and every one of us. So please join me in the unity prayer. Mother, Father God, thank you so much for being present with us, each and every one. And now the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Bless you, Joseph. And see you next time.
Radiate Wellness is an international community of holistic and alternative healers dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.